another 4 a.m. in the woods. This is a series that I started from hearing about Washington Carver giving God glory for all of his inventions and cool things he did on the earth, to the simple fact that he would walk in the woods with God every morning at 4 a.m. And it just so happens 4 a.m. is a good time for me because I'm a busy mom of two. This is a chapter by chapter study, and we are on 1 Samuel 25. Last chapter, we talked about the most pivotal moment between this whole David and Saul conflict. David and Saul somehow ended up in the same cave, and David cut the hem of Saul's robe. It was a big ordeal. There was a public homage paid by David to Saul, and they kind of made some peace for now. Chapter 25 starts off with a new conflict. Fortunately, Samuel has passed. Our boy Samuel, we started the series on the story of Hannah and Samuel, and now he has passed, and all Israel assembled to mourn for him. He was this great prophet and just a good man of God. David then went down to the wilderness of Paran. A man in Maon had a business in Carmel. He was a very rich man with 3,000 sheep, 1,000 goats, and was shearing his sheep in Carmel. This man's name was Nabal, and his wife's name was Abigail. The woman was intelligent and beautiful, but the man, a Calebite, was harsh and evil in his dealings. It's crazy because someone really named this man Nabal, which translates to scoundrel, some translates to fool. I don't know, very interesting. While David was in the wilderness, he heard that Nabal was shearing sheep. So David sent 10 young men, instructed them, "Go up to Carmel, and when you come to Nabal, greet him in my name. Then say this: long life to you, and peace to you, peace to your family, and peace to all that is yours." Basically, David and his men did some work for Nabal and was kind of like, "Hey, I scratched your back and we need some help from you, so can you scratch our back?" So David sends these men to ask for any provisions that Nabal can give them, and Nabal seems to have forgotten or doesn't even know who David is. It also says that he was pretty rude and kind of screamed at them. Now, David is responding in an interesting way, quite different than the response he had to Saul earlier in the last chapter. David said to his men, "All of you put on your swords." So each man put on his sword, and David also put on his sword. About 400 men followed David, while 200 stayed with the supplies. Sounds like he's a little angry. While David is on his way with his men and swords, Abigail, the wife, hears word from a servant and tells her, "Listen, this has just happened. This is what Nabal said. We probably should act." The servant says, "Now consider carefully what you should do, because there is certain to be trouble for a master and his entire family. He is such a worthless fool, nobody can talk to him." Wow. I really sympathize with Abigail. I feel bad for her being married to this man. And I'm sure that this marriage has definitely grown her in a lot of ways. So after hearing this, Abigail hurried. She was taking all of these provisions, all of these things to the men, and told her servant to go ahead of her, and she will be right behind him. As she was on the way down a mountain pass hidden from view, she saw David and his men coming toward her, met them. David had just said, "I guarded everything that belonged to this man in the wilderness for nothing. He was not missing anything, yet he paid me back evil for good. May God punish me, and do so severely, if I let any of his males survive until morning." David was kind of complaining to his men about what had happened, which before, usually when something like this happened, he would pray to God and ask God to show him what to do next, or tell him what to do next. When Abigail saw them, she quickly got off the donkey, knelt down with her face to the ground, and paid homage to David. Instantly, she's humble. She knelt at his feet and said, "The guilt is mine, my lord, but please let your servant speak to you directly. Listen to the words of your servant. My lord should pay no attention to this worthless fool Nabal, for he lives up to his name. His name means stupid, and stupidity is all he knows. I, your servant, didn't see my lord's young men whom you sent. Now, my lord, as surely as the Lord lives, and as you yourself live, it is the Lord who kept you from participating in bloodshed and avenging yourself by your own hand. May evil not be found in you. Abigail is interceding for her husband. Although her words are a little harsh about him, she is still trying to do the right thing. She's also encouraging David and saying, listen, look at what the Lord has done. The Lord has kept you and the Lord has blessed you. You surely have a dynasty coming. Like, just let this be good enough and spare my crazy husband. Now here's David's response to Abigail. Blessed be the Lord God of Israel who sent you to me today. Your discernment be blessed, and may you be blessed. Today you kept me from participating in bloodshed and avenging myself by my own hand. Otherwise, as surely as the Lord God of Israel lives, who prevented me from harming you, if you had not come quickly to meet me, Nabal wouldn't have had any males left by morning light. Then David accepted what she brought and said, go home in peace. See that I have heard what you have said and granted your request. Abigail keeps this from Nabal for a little while, gets home and finds her husband feasting like a king and completely drunk. So she decides to wait until the next morning to tell him. So while Nabal is probably hungover, she tells him he has a stroke. 10 days later, he dies. David finds out about Nabal's death, reaches out to Abigail and says, hey, I found out your man is dead. Would you come and be my wife? She actually accepts the offer and ends up marrying David. Abigail becomes one of David's wife, and David now has 3 wives. I wonder how that's going for him. Some themes here. We still see God's protection for David. I mean, Abigail is sent to keep him from sinning. Abigail shows us some really good wisdom and discernment and understands that she needed to act quickly. Her actions represent quick thinking, humility, and just relying on God, remembering what all he has done already. We also see some immediate consequences for foolish behavior. And this wasn't just a one-off instance. This man had a reputation for being a scoundrel. And we really have to practice controlling our anger and relying on God's justice. It's so easy to get angered over something, and human anger produces sinful actions.